This is the podcast between an old school mentor and a digital mentee on managing and/or working with people, navigating a career, growing profits, and not killing your coworkers along the way. Now let's join the consultant, Haydn Shaw, and the millennial who fixes Haydn's iPhone, Seth Tower Hurd.
It's the consultant and the millennial. I'm a millennial. My name is Seth Tower Hurd. Haydn Shaw would be the consultant. He's helped companies like Hilton Hotels, NASA, the Department of Defense, World Vision with their people and process issues. In the last episode, I was honestly afraid that people were going to hate it. We're 6 episodes in, 7 episodes in. We're trying to figure out, exactly what people respond to. I'm like, okay, so they might just detest an episode about leadership versus management. And we got several comments. It's actually people's favorite episode. So if you can recap what leadership is and what management is before we talk about being a really good manager.
Well, gotcha. Basically what we talked about is that moving from management to leadership is a tough transition. And, we talked about how leaders can actually do it. What has to happen to make that transition? There's a lot of training on management. There's a lot of books on management. And, it's a known transition. Whereas the transition from management to leadership, far fewer people go through that percentage-wise. And it's just not as clear. It's a lot more ambiguous what that involves. And so that's kind of what our focus was. And good leadership is about giving a vision. Good leadership is about knowing who you are and translating who you are in a way that can motivate and connect with other people. And we spent a lot of time talking about that aspect of it, that different people, different personalities can lead, but it's about finding your own leadership mojo. And then we talked a bit about execution and about the ability to look around corners and as key leadership characteristics a person has to move into.
And if you want to, you can actually pause this episode and go back, grab that one, and come back and join us here. That actually might be pretty helpful to you. We're specifically talking management today.
Well, I'll try not to talk a lot about that episode, but keep this one distinct for folks that are like, dude, I've already downloaded this and I am not going back.
We're talking about management. I think I'm probably a better leader than a manager. Actually, I know I am. And I have to be doing both things at the same time. I've got a small company that's mainly me and freelancers in the digital marketing space, digitalprofitfarm.com. I'm in the process of launching a second company, which, I'll talk about later, but that's actually with in a partnership with somebody else. Never thought I would do that. And then you kind of meet the right person to start a business with, and you change your mind, right? So I'm somebody that would say I'm probably a better leader than a manager. I'm an okay manager, maybe on the better side of okay, maybe C+, maybe B-. But I've got to get better at both because I'd love to eventually just be in leadership where I'm setting direction, but that's going to be years of growing the company before I'm there. We talked about in the last episode, you can get promoted straight to leadership and kind of skip management in some companies. And that'll really come back to bite you and the company and everybody who reports to you because it just never works out that well.
It rarely does. It rarely does. I remember leading a session and this woman went, I realize it. Because we asked them, what percentage of time are you in management? What percentage of time are you in leadership? And where does it need to be? And she wanted to be in 75% of her time in leadership. And she said, I would have to be a regional manager or a senior vice president in our $2 billion company before I knew anywhere close to that. Actually, as a district manager, they want my job to be 75% management, and I don't want it to be that. I'm going to leave. Instead of being a thorn in my regional manager's side, I'm going to quit. This has been incredibly helpful, not in the way my company wanted me to get help. But although I think my regional manager will probably send you a gift because I know I make her crazy because I keep giving her all these leadership ideas and she keeps telling me, go mind the farm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a digital private farm, but go mind the pharmaceutical farm in their case. And knowing how you're wired is critical. And she had put in the time to learn the blocking and tackling and managing. And so let's talk about why managing really matters, because in most of these discussions, as I mentioned last time, leadership is the varsity players and managers are the junior varsities who just never could make it to the varsity. And we pay people that way. We pay CMOs huge amounts of money, and we pay managers off a scale. And so we seem to value it that way, and it's worth talking about today. Why bother being a manager? What the research shows about managers, and what makes a good manager, and just so we can give equal time after talking about the move from management to leadership last time.
Can I throw one thing in before you go down this trail, right?
Yeah.
For people who are listening to this who are in the entrepreneurial space or desire to be in a business startup type thing, I think there's this idea that, if I just leave my job and I make enough money, I won't have to do anything that I used to have to do in my job that I hated. And you do want to minimize the amount of time that you're spending on things you're not good at. Without a doubt, you want to minimize that, right? But this idea that I'm just going to farm out the things I'm not good at, okay, there's part of it where you should. There's also the reality that you should never hire somebody. I'm stealing this from ZipRecruiter, by the way. Hey, ZipRecruiter, sponsor our show. You should never hire somebody to solve your problems. You should go in and create the process, even if you're not that good at it, because how can you have somebody to report to you doing something you don't understand yourself? That's where fraud comes in, and you hire the wrong shady person, they steal all your money.
There was a great article in Fortune magazine probably 12 years ago now on consultants and the danger of consultants and the inability of consultants to hold water bottles. And basically what it said is don't hire consultants, because a consultant has to get an A in a specialization.
And by the way, when you're saying don't hire consultants, don't hire a consultant to work for you full time, because you
oh
are
yeah,
a consultant.
this is a Friday, and I'm a little tired from some jet lag.
I was going to say, because
that's probably really bad from a marketing standpoint. Don't hire consultants.
All the business out of both of our businesses.
Yeah, we're both scum. Although my favorite consulting joke is a consultant is a person that knows 50 ways to kiss and can't find a date for Friday night. That is, to this day, my favorite consulting joke. Anyway, so the article was why you shouldn't hire a consultant to be your CEO or one of your vice presidents. And it's because a CEO has to get a C in everything. And a consultant can get an A in a specialization. And basically, first break all the rules, one of Gallup's breakthrough books. And I'm going to refer to it a lot today because it's really one of the 3 or 4 most important management books that's come along in 25 years. And one of the things that Gallup said is the reason it's dangerous to hire consultants as a manager is that consultants often avoided having to do the kinds of management blocking and tackling things that other people have spent some years getting under their belt, and they wanted to do certain things they enjoyed doing and not doing other things. And you are truly a millennial because we're recording a podcast and you are texting on your phone while I'm talking.
It was 4 words. Actually, it was to Amanda, and I said, still recording, love you. Just because she freaks out and thinks that like something bad happened to me if I don't let her know that I'm okay. And I always try to tell her that, I'm from Fishhook, Illinois, and historically, most of my family has lived to 90 plus, with the exceptions being those that have died in foreign wars and those that have been killed by like cows or tractors rolling over. And there's no cow or tractor in here, so I'm probably fine, but that way she won't freak out.
I understand it completely. So good, you're a good man. You were close enough to Valentine's Day still that you're getting points.
And close enough that I may have just bought 50% off candy.
50% off candy. That's not a bad idea. So in terms of managing, often managers get this, and that's really one of the breakthrough ideas in First Break All the Rules, one of the largest studies done on management and leadership ever. First Break All the Rules, it's just one of the 4 or 5 best management leadership books in the last 25 years. And research is impeccable. Thousands and thousands of interviews, as well as all of this qualitative stuff. And what they ask people is, who are your best managers? And everybody in a company knows who the best managers are, and what's different around the best managers. And while there's a lot of overlap between good leadership and good management, what they said is companies can't exist without good managers. And while leaders have a special role to them, good managers are just as important as good leaders. And what I'd argue is that most entrepreneurs struggle not because of their vision, they struggle because of their execution.
Hey, absolutely. Raising my hand.
They don't
right
struggle
now.
Because of their vision. They struggle because of their execution. They're overled and undermanaged.
And that's something I've talked with my own, freelance team about is just the fact that I'm really good at figuring things out, as we talked about in the last episode, and then even teaching one of them to do it. And by the 5th time I'm coding the same thing, I get really slow and really bad at it, even if it's simple tasks, because I'm just ready to move on, and I realize that I'm somebody who wants to go ahead and start other businesses, and not that I want to run around with like a chicken with my head cut off, right? Like, I just want to be like in chaos all the time and just yelling at people and having them fix the problems I created. But I might as well just learn right now that I'm not going to be able to start one thing and probably keep it going for 30 years and be happy. And like a big part of this is, thin or flush. I want to be happy working. And so that means I need to...
Yeah, no, that and I think that's one of the most admirable things. I know it's consultant in the millennial, and one of the most admirable things about millennials is that the boomers said I wanted to be happy, and then they're like, yes, but I really want an SUV and a bigger screen TV. And so us boomers and older Xers, we made some more compromises, and at least so far, millennials, while they're willing to work hard, and the whole myth of the lazy millennial is there's a lot of myth to that. About 20% of millennials give everybody a bad name. A lot of millennials are willing to work really hard. They also are willing to put happiness as a primary focus on what they do. And that is a very cool thing. You should. What can a person do? What's a good manager look like? What are the characteristics of good managers? Well, if I asked you, if you're driving here, just pause stuff and think about who the best managers are. Kind of one of the classic training questions. Most of us could. Who's the best? Who's some of the best managers? What are some characteristics of the best managers you work for, Seth?
I am trying to think back through the different stages of my career, because I started out. Well, actually, I started out as a manager. Believe it or not, I was 13. The gig was digging fence post holes. I got paid extra to find other workers, organize them, get them there on time on their bikes, and make sure they did their jobs. So it started in management. I wasn't able to hold that all the way through.
If history is a good predictor of the future, you were interested for the first 5 post holes, and then after that you got really slow, and the fence post didn't stand up straight.
That fence has since fallen over. No, and I look back at like even starting out in retail in junior college. In my first radio jobs, midnight to 6 a.m. in Iowa on country radio, both truckers kind of thought I was okay. I think about somebody who was very empathetic, who really wanted to see me win, and who was very patient and willing to take the time to really sharpen and hone me in the way that a good athletic coach would. Mm-hmm. And I would be the first person to say, I can have some of those characteristics, but I'm not great at all of them over a long period of time.
Now, many of the coaches we admire the most come out of a particular spectrum that some of us don't match. So some of the very best coaches are never going to make great leaders because great leaders have to be impatient. Entrepreneurs have to have some impatience. Whereas somebody who's going to have a younger guy come in and do the late show for CW radio is going to have to be patient. They're going to have some patience in that, or they're just going to fire you. A true entrepreneur, a true leader, somebody who's impatient is going to go, yeah, whatever, you're done, you're out.
Yeah.
And so the very things that many of us can do that for a bit, we can't do that for long.
Okay, so those of us who want to be leaders, right, who are going to have to be managers first, because if not, you're a terrible leader. And let's just start with the level of employee or team member and work your way up. So you get promoted to management. Mm-hmm. What do you do to be good at it, and what happens if you're not good at it for a long period of time?
Okay. First, what about those people who are natural at it? There are some people who are just natural-born managers. And in your case, you're working for somebody who saw potential and was patient with it and coached it well. And in Gallup's research as well as study after study, one of the most important characteristics of managers is their coaching. They believe in me. They want me to win. Everything you said is what shows up in the research. We would all say that about the most significant managers in our life. They believe in me. They want me to win. One of my very favorite managers, she could reprimand is kind of the technical term in coaching or feedback, giving a good reprimand. She could reprimand you and you felt better than when you got a raise from the average boss, the average manager. Because she'd say to me, because she was almost as old as my own mom. She'd said, I love you. You're one of my favorite consultants, and I don't know what your problem is, but you've got to knock it off. How can you not feel great going, wow, she really wants me to win, and I have obviously screwed up. If Diane is talking like that, then I remember leaving a sit-down dinner and an annual performance appraisal thinking, she just cut my legs off in about 3 areas, and I feel great. I mean, she really did. I was walking around with no legs and didn't realize it for a half hour because I felt so great having somebody who so much wanted me to win. So I think what you pointed out is huge. And some people are just natural born managers because they can make people naturally feel like that. Whereas the rest of us who get antsy, we just can't keep eye contact for that long. I mean, we're like, all right, good. This conversation's boring me and we need to move on because I've just lost interest in hearing the same thing. And good managers, intuitive managers, they have to listen to the same excuses and coach the same thing until people can make a real turn in what they're doing. And that takes some patience that some of us are not natural at.
Well, to go back to one of those business cliches, I think it was originally in the book Good to Great. We talk about getting the right people on the bus, getting the right seat on the bus, and that's how you win, right? And
Kim Blanchard pointed out in Leadership in the 1 Minute Manager and in the 1 Minute Manager, he pointed out that you can either hire those people pre-done or you can find them cheaper and grow them, and that most businesses can only afford a few of the top draft picks, to use a sports analogy. The rest of them, they have to do Moneyball and build, and they have to make the right bets and then grow them.
Okay, so that scares me a little bit as I think about scaling a company. Although I'm starting a second company with a partner, and maybe that'll go faster because I got somebody else that balances me out, right?
But partnerships almost always scale faster.
I am somebody who has always had deep love of work. I really like working. I like other things too. I'm not a workaholic.
You're a freak.
But I really like working. I have fun. And so for somebody to come in and need their hand held a lot and need to be told why they should be working, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just have a hard time with that. I'm like, well, it's work. Go do it.
That's right. And so people...
Or go somewhere else.
People who have a lot of initiative and who enjoy work and can always come up with more ideas and things to do. So folks who are wired like you have a lot of trouble with people who run in a lane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a lane. I am out of things to do, or I'm getting bored, and you're like, okay, drive home and then have a good night's sleep and then drive back to work. And in the hour of commuting time you just did, you'll come up with 6 more ideas of what you could do to make your job better and more interesting, and then go do those ideas. Whereas people who have a lane, they do their work, they follow the process, and then over time they get bored, usually a lot longer period of time, but then they get bored or want more opportunities or things. We're like, what's your problem? Haven't you had any new ideas? And there are people who, no, not really. They're not bad people. They're great people, like we talked about before. But for those of us who have no trouble coming up with more ideas than we could ever execute, they are baffling to us. And it's hard for us to slow down our speed and have a useful conversation with them. We're not like that. So most of us are worse at coaching people who aren't motivated the way we're motivated.
Okay, so realizing I'm going to be in a spot where I can't just always have... because I feel like everybody I got right now is a rock star. They get me.
Yeah, you got a great team.
Well, there's also 4 of them. So you can find 4 people who are awesome. And, 2 of those, one of them being one of my best friends on the planet, and another one being somebody who I've had a professional relationship with for, over 10 years. And so those are kind of gimmies. Those
are gimmies.
Yeah.
They already know you. You already know them. There's not a lot of managing you have to do.
Absolutely. So when I get into the place where, I got to kind of minor league it, so to speak, and realizing, working on my own weakness or working around my own weakness, I'm not that great of a manager. How do I become a good manager in the interim for 5 years or whatever until I have kind of this like little war cabinet of VPs around me that can help me out more?
Yeah, I don't know that you can do enough management because of the way you're wired. I don't know that you can do it for 5 years enough to not have to find some other, not VPs, but some other people who enjoy that managing part.
So I just need to realize my weakness and realize
you can do some of it, but I'm thinking of a guy I really enjoyed working with, and he said to me, my board, he was a non-for-profit guy. My board said to me, I need to manage more. We've grown to the place where I have to be a better manager. You got anything on management? I said, yeah, let me sneak into one of Franklin Covey's courses. I'll bring you along as a friend. And it was a 3-day course, and he went to 1 day of it. He goes, okay, I'm done. That's all I can sit. And then he goes, give me a book. So I did. I gave him the Unofficial Guide to Management. I said, have you read it? He goes, I tried 3 times. I can't make myself do it. I said, the chances of you ever managing well when you can't sit through a 3-day workshop and you can't get past the second chapter in a basic book on management is really, really low. He goes, so what should I do? I said, you need to find somebody else who has the patience to manage people. And that's what he did. And that's to your point of figuring out what you can make happen. You may need to tell people right up front, I'm not a very good manager. You're going to pretty much have to manage yourself. If you can't manage yourself, if you can't come up with a to-do list and translate things into directives, if you expect me to provide it for you, I'm going to make you crazy. Okay. And because I get bored too fast, and I'd rather work on new ideas than I would on implementing things.
Okay.
Now, you got to know the business, and you have to create the processes. I don't remember what episode it was, what interview the hard drive got knocked over and broken on. Was that the guy that transformed his business through processes?
No, that one came out. So if you're
okay,
confused about what's going on here, a hard drive got knocked off with all of our extra episodes in it. I hadn't backed them up to Dropbox yet, and there's some that are just gone. We're trying to, get some of those guests back because they were really good.
They were.
That's Adam Kyle of Harrison Gray Search and Brothers Leather. You really need to go listen to that one. It's a millennial who has a very old school process-based business approach.
And if you're not a good manager of people, because you don't enjoy all of that, you've got to have clear processes. And you've got to break it down into the incremental bits of work that are necessary.
I actually do think I'm good at that.
I know you are. You're good at structuring that, and then you find people who can follow that.
Okay.
And then when they can't follow that, you let them go and you say, good, refer your friends. The key is for you to not get mad at them for no longer being interested in doing it or finding it hard to do it. The key is to go, just go do your job. But to instead say, it doesn't seem like you're having fun anymore. Why don't, I don't know if you're not having fun, don't do it. Because basically, you're going to have to do these same 7 behaviors every day and then go do these other 9 behaviors every day. And these other, because you've broken it down into a good micro skills and micro behaviors and a good flow and a good process that gets results. And sometimes people just can't do that, or they get bored doing that, and you got to catch it before you either have to coach them on like one of those natural born managers, or you have to catch it early and go, you're not happy anymore. I'm not going to cheer you on. Here, I sent you an emoticon that basically says, quit sucking. And if you're like that, you catch them before you're mad at them, because you can't manage somebody when you're now mad at them. When they're under your skin, all of us suck as managers.
Okay. As we wrap this episode up, let's just say that I get to the point. I'm managing 4 people now, and managing is a very loose term because they're awesome. I kind of just talk to them, tell them what to do. I'm eventually going to get to the place, and anybody who's going to move from employee to manager is going to get to the place where you need to be doing this week in, week out. So is this where like weekly check-ins come in? Because I know that like annual reviews are terrible and stupid and pointless and a waste of time. So does managing
annual reviews are not that bad if you're not having regular conversations with people. I know that's opposite of what everything says in good management, but we're talking about I'm talking to the entrepreneurs who left organizations because they couldn't bear it anymore. And, if you're the kind of person that gives your people a lot of freedom and doesn't check in a lot, then you better do you better do a 6-month and an annual performance appraisal, or you're going to burn yourself. For most people, annual performance appraisals are a poor substitute for a regular cadence of checking in. So ideally, checking in once a week would be a good thing. The vast majority of entrepreneurial managers I know will not show up at the meetings. They'll plan a meeting every week, and then they'll actually end up with 1 out of every 5 weeks. And then they cancel on their folks, and nothing feels worse than canceling on your people. The fact that your wife texted you texted her back while we were live, shows that you know how to keep your marriage strong. Whereas, can you imagine going, baby, I'll text you once every 10 times because my customers come first.
Yeah.
When managers keep rescheduling or dropping their meetings, with their one-on-ones with their people begin to take it personally. It's better to set up fewer ones than it is to not show up. So, yes, find a cadence of accountability. Weekly is ideal. Monthly is better than nothing. But set it up what you'll actually do, because you'll tick your people off more by acting like you don't care when other things are more interesting and more pressing.
Last couple tips here. So if you're not going to meet with people, don't tell them you're going to meet with your own people. And then empathy, coaching is how you do a good job of management. Anything else that we're just going to throw into the pot?
4 or 5 key things. Good managers give different people different things. Somebody like you needs a constant challenge and would be motivated with a lot of, wow, that's really good, and an occasional, what were you thinking? You need to get your head out of your derriere. There's not a lot of, well, tell me why you came to that conclusion, or tell me why you came to that conclusion. What were you thinking, Seth? That was bad. It's not like you. That was bad. Go fix it. Whereas somebody else, man, that does not work. And instead, it needs to be, tell me what happened. Tell me why you chose this instead of that. What were you thinking? What were you up against? What were the circumstances? And either way, you've got to have the conversations around very high standards. The Exceptional Managers, and First Break All the Rules, is worth reading, or at least getting book on tape and going through, because it's pretty interesting as far as business books with a lot of research goes. It's the kind of thing you could listen to on tape. Once again. We both share an admin who says to me, CDs, what are those? Shut up, you 30-year-old. Anyway, sorry, I'm talking about books on tape because I'm old. Anyway, you got an audio. You're listening to audio of it. You can do it. And the idea that I think is so big and what they came up with is the very best managers. Literally, one maitre d' fired one of his best servers about every 6 months. And he was a strong personality, and that's just basically the way he said, I'm the boss, you're out of line, you're fired, don't come in anymore. And he'd come back 2 days later and go, can I have my job back? Yes, you can. You're exceptional. You're our best waiter. Knock it off. And so he knew how to get high standards and high performance. And, with some people, that's coaching, patience, cheering them on, having the same conversation again and again until they can turn whatever the corner is that's holding them back. For other people, it's don't come in anymore. And what? Yeah, you're fired. Seriously? Yeah, you're fired. All right. 2 days later, what have you to do to get my job back? You got to quit being a prima donna, and we got to build a strong team and not just you walking away with the money from serving. And you want the best tips. You try to cream the best tables. We need the best team of high performance people. And until you build a team, you can't come back because you're the best, but you're hurting us all. All right, I can do that. And you get the best. Knowing how to raise high standards on people is one of the keys to good management. And there's some tricks to that. We'll talk about that another time. What are the tricks of raising high performance? And that's just what exceptional managers have to do. There's a lot of patience, a lot of coaching, a lot of fun, a lot of joking, a lot of being able to relate to people. And then there's to be able to make high demands, have high standards, and just expect the world out of people. And your best folks will live it up to that. And then being kind to the people on the bus who are in a seat that says high expectations for you. I'm not going to expect you to kill it. I'm not going to expect you to come up with brand new ideas. You're not going to be the person that comes up with our new products, our new innovations, our new processes. But day in and day after, I just expect you to deliver high quality results. And we're going to cheer you on like everybody else. That, my friends, will make you top drawer management day in and day out. We need good managers. Most organizations don't have enough good managers, and they end up with people who let their ego go crazy and actually try to get other people to do what they're not good at. And a lot of people who take the job because they see that as a promotion, how to make a little more money and how to get ahead.
Hurt people.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
Hey, by the way, I'm seriously saving this episode for the future. And so if I'm giving you this episode and I'm thinking about hiring you, I just laid all my cards on the table. I'm not that good of a manager. So if you're coming into my company, I'm going to do my best. But I laid it all out for you as of February 2018. Closing notes, Haydn can be found at peopledrivenresults.com. You have people problems. You have change problems. You have generational turnover. Go there, peopledrivenresults.com. My name is Seth Tower Hurd. I can fix your website, which is probably in worse shape than you think, and it's costing you money you don't know you're losing. Also, I generate hundreds of thousands of podcasts.
I lost $20,000 last year because my website was underperforming. I can go back and trace it. I can show you $20,000 I lost last year.
And I charge a lot less than $20,000 probably, so let's get that fixed for you. Also, if you need social media management or podcast help, I am able to reach hundreds of thousands of people every year. You can find me at digitalprofitfarm.com. This has been The Consultant and the Millennial. Find us on our Facebook group. There's some fantastic people there to help you grow your career, your profits, and not kill people along the way.